Come and crochet a baby hat with me. The wool I'm using is Amigo 100% acrylic from Hobby, and the weight is 50 grams, and the recommended hook size is 4 to 5 millimeters. So as you can see, I am using a 4 millimeter. So first we take our yarn and make a magic circle. It took me forever to learn how to do this, but I can finally say I've mastered it. So start off by chaining 2. This doesn't count as your first stitch. And then we will do 10 treble crochets into the ring. US version will be double crochet. I'm sorry that the camera isn't centered. This is my first time doing a tutorial video, so please bear with me. And then once you've done your 10th treble crochet into the ring, you're going to pull the tail closed, and then you are going to slip stitch in the top of that 2 chains that you've done at the beginning, and just close it together. And then round 2, you're going to again do a chain of 2, and in the base of that chain we're going to start increasing. So do 2 treble crochets in that base stitch, and then do the same all the way round. So 2 treble crochets in the next stitch, US terms double crochet, and just keep doing the same all the way round. Again, apologies that the video isn't in the center, but I'm sure you get the gist. Once you get to the end, again, just slip stitch in the top of that chain 2, squeeze the hook in, and just slip stitch it closed. And then round 3, we're going to chain 2 again, and in the base of that chain 2, we're going to treble crochet 1, just in the base there, treble crochet, US terms double, and then in the next stitch we're going to increase. So we're going to pop 2 treble crochets in that stitch, US terms double crochet, and then we're going to repeat that process all the way around. So in the next stitch we do 1 treble crochet, and then the next one 2 treble crochet, and then just continue that repeat all the way round. And then at the end of the round you should have 2 stitches left, which means 1 treble crochet, and the very last stitch should always be the increase. So in that stitch 2 treble crochets, and then as before we slip stitch in the end of the chain 2 that we started with, and just stitch it together. There we go. And then on the 4th round we do chain 2, and in the base of that we do 1 treble crochet, in the next stitch another treble crochet, and then in the 3rd stitch is when we increase, which is 2 treble crochets in the same stitch, and then we repeat that process. So 1 treble crochet in the next stitch, 1 treble crochet in the next stitch, and then in the 3rd we increase So we do 2 treble crochets in that next stitch. Again, US terms is double. And then we just continue that process all the way around to the end. And then again, to finish off, we've got 3 stitches left. So we do 1 treble crochet, next stitch 1 treble crochet, and as always the last stitch always ends on an increase, so 2 treble crochets in that same stitch, and then finish off with your slip stitch on the top of that chain 2 that we started the round with. And then the next round, this is the last time to increase, so we chain 2, and in that base stitch we do 1 treble crochet, the next stitch a treble crochet, next stitch a treble crochet, and then in that 4th stitch we increase, so 2 treble crochets in that same stitch, and then repeat that again. 1 treble crochet, 1 treble crochet, 1 treble crochet, and then the next time we increase, so 2 treble crochets in that stitch, and then just repeat that all the way to the end. And we finish off with 1 treble crochet, 1 treble crochet, 1 treble crochet, and again that last stitch is always an increase, so do 2 treble crochets in that 1 stitch, and then finish off with a slip stitch in the top of that chain 2. And then from here on out we'll do chain of 2, and then from that base stitch we're just going to do 1 treble crochet in each stitch. We're not increasing and we're not decreasing, we're just doing 1 treble crochet, US terms double crochet, and we're going to do it all the way around to the end. And we just finish that round off, treble crochet in each stitch, all the way to the end again, and finishing off by slip stitching into the top of that chain 2. Now you want to repeat this until you get to round 10. Now we're going to change to size hook 3mm. This is to do the cuff of the hat. We're going to chain 1 and do 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way round. In US terms this is single crochet, so just do 1 stitch all the way around to the end, and then we will slip stitch in the top of that chain 1 that we started with. So now we're going to do the ribbing, and we start off by doing 6 chains. Now starting off ribbing can be quite fiddly, so we're going to be using half treble crochet stitch, and we're going to go into the 2nd chain from the hook, and we'll do half treble crochet. US terms is double crochet. That's 2, 3, make sure it's half treble as well, 4, and 5 treble crochet. US terms double, half double. And then in the base of where we started the chain 6, you want to just do a slip stitch. It might be hard to see where that stitch is, so sometimes you have to pull the yarn apart a little bit. And then the next 2 stitches we're going to slip stitch those together, stitch those together and we chain 1 and we turn. And we're just going to go back along those half trebles, but this time we're going back loop only. So just 1 loop, half treble crochet, back loop again, half treble, three, back loop again, 4, and then in the end we're going to do the final half treble crochet into both loops. It just creates a more smooth, secure line. And then we chain 1 and we turn, and then we just repeat that process all the way around. And then we're coming to the end of the ribbing. So those last 2 stitches we're going to decrease. So slip stitch those, decrease together, chain 1, and then the beginning and the end of the ribbing, we kind of want to turn them back on themselves. And then we go into the back loop of the end of the row we've just finished and into the beginning of the first row, and we'll slip stitch those 2 stitches together. So again, back loop into the first row and slip stitch. Just a bit closer so you can see, into the back loop of the row we've just finished on the ribbon and into the adjoining stitch on the beginning of the ribbon and stitch together. 4 stitch, and then on the very last one again we go through both loops on the last row of the ribbing and into the 2 loops on the beginning row of the ribbing, and we slip stitch together and just fasten off. Once you've fastened off, just weave in your ends. Don't forget the end from the magic ring that we pulled at the beginning. And then there we have it, a newborn baby hat.